Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 25 of The Technician's Fight. I need you to do something for me, Captain, the quartermaster said as they walked through the concourse, which is, it was still too welcoming for them to be near where his uncle wanted to meet. I don't need to meet. You need to forget who I am. Is him being related to you a lie? That isn't what I mean. But we are related. I need you to forget I'm Xenial, your quartermaster, a male on your ship, one under your protection. If anyone attacks, I will protect you. If this turned physical, you're welcome to do that, but you can't react to what he'll say. Is he going to reveal something you don't want me to act on? The male snorted. Anything he'd say about those times aren't things you can do anything about anymore, but he's going to try to get you to start something. I'm not a cub. He wouldn't bother with a cub. The male headed to one of the doors, and before noting how nice everything still was, they were inside a restaurant, one with groups that included cubs at tables. Wondering why Alan would arrange a meeting here, Gralgiran scanned the room for anyone that... You know what? Scan the room. Scan the room. No one was eating alone or in the company of questionable people. The quartermaster spoke with the female at the counter in a dialect Gralgiran didn't know. The dialogue ended with a nod, her handing him his scan card, and them heading deeper into the restaurant. He scanned it, and the door unlocked, and they entered. If it isn't my favorite nephew, an old male said, his voice low but raw, the turncoat. Gralgiran bristled at the insult and fought to keep his fur down. Uncle, thank you for agreeing to meet us, and without any of your usual protection. The male snorted. Protection is for when I'm going to fuck someone dirty. I doubt the great god's hunter would take someone like that to his bed. He doesn't spend time. He doesn't spend time. He doesn't spend time in my bed, Gralgiran replied, barely managing to keep his tone neutral. The man was much older than he'd envisioned. He'd also lost a portion of the muscle mass he would have had when younger, which meant he used cunning to hold his position. The male looked at the quartermaster in disbelief. What happened to you and that cock of yours? I thought it could charm even the gods. He snorted. I don't want to sleep with everyone. The old male snorted. I'm going to remove that. I don't want to sleep with everyone, the old male snorted while Gralgiran stared at the quartermaster. Sit, sit. I'd never think to disgrace so important visitors by not offering them something to eat. We're fine, Gralgiran replied as the quartermaster pulled the stool away from the table with a foot. You're fine? The old male said in a tone that implied he'd been called declawed. I do the courteous thing and invite you to share meat, and you're fine? Captain, stay out of this, traitor. The old male pushed himself to his feet. His spotted fur was trimmed so they were longer, while the rest was nearly to his skin, and locked angry eyes on Gralgiran. He now felt like he should have asked Tom to come along to advise him or keep an earpiece in while he caroused to listen in. This felt politics instead of dealing with a Halan. Just who do you think I am, great hunter? That was a trap, but he had no idea how to avoid it. A Tahalan. That had to be the safe answer. To be a safe answer, both were accurate after all. A Tahalan, he responded mockingly. Just what have you been telling him about your good uncle, Zinni? The quartermaster winced, which told Gralgiran the short name wasn't used with approval. He held his tongue, but the need to get that male to treat one of his crew with at least enough respect to honor the name he wanted used was strong. Oh, someone disapprove of me calling you Zinni? What does he call you, his toy? I wouldn't. The triumphant smile stopped him. So you do have teeth. I was starting to think all those stories about you were nothing more than military propaganda. The great hunter, beloved of the gods, never failed one hunt. Gralgiran snorted. I've failed a number of my hunts. No one can keep to a scent all the time. Your namesake can. He snorted again. You don't know your classics. Elavnir has been defeated, humiliated, killed, eaten by his prey, shot back, and he killed his prey, feasted on his enemies, loved his allies. And what am I to you, O great hunter? He was tempted to tell the truth, an annoyance. He'd rather deal with the usual violence of the Halan instead of these games. He got enough of those from the leadership. I don't know. You're making sure we won't be allies. You aren't my prey, and I doubt either of us want to waste time with being enemies. Business associates, then, the old man exclaimed with a laugh. It's about the same as being enemies without all the growling and clawing. He motioned to the side of the table. Sit, associates share food. Gralgiran looked at the stool under the table, then at the seat the other male lowered himself in. He'd rather stand the way an alpha should, but the male had made it clear this wouldn't progress without things being handled his way. Like the quartermaster, he pulled the stool out with a foot, then sat, ignoring the hardness. Are you two actually related? He asked, to have something other than the discomfort to think about. You really didn't tell him anything about me, did you? That isn't the arrangement we have, the quartermaster said. You don't fuck, you don't talk. Just what is this arrangement you have with this hunter? It's called gratitude, the quartermaster replied. You should try it one of these days. The old man coughed. No money in it. So my sister wasn't lying. She actually went through with dumping you in the middle of that screwed up deal after you pissed her off. I thought she'd made that up and you'd walked off for a better bed. It's not my fault she doesn't have a sense of humor. What you do isn't humor, the male said in his serious tone. It's inviting Tutankhamun to the table just to see who he'll take a liking to. Is it my fault my namesake's lover hangs around me? It is when you invite him. Gralgiran both wanted to ask what that was about and was certain he didn't want to know. The quartermaster had done nothing that he knew of that qualified as inviting the god of death to his ship, and he probably didn't want to know if it was something he'd managed to hide, or rather, he definitely wanted to know, but then he'd have to act on the information. He hated the positions that the quartermaster kept putting him into. At least, he now knew they were related, although the age difference seemed rather large. Platter of meats and sauces, along with pitchers of drinks, were put on the table by servants who exited immediately after without looking at any of them. Love this place, the old man said, clawing a chunk of meat into a plate and pouring sauces into bowls. The quartermaster did the same, so Gralgiran did too. Stopping only when he smelled the strength of the alcohol in the pitcher he'd sniffed. All of them were stronger than he'd ever considered drinking. The meats and sauces were good. So, the old maid said, why would a hunter like you want to talk with a Halan like me? For information. Maybe my nephew's given you a wrong impression of who we are. We don't tell on the clans. But you might tell on other pirates. Telling on those you compete with is a claw that can catch you just as fast as your competitor. What about those pirates who aren't pirates? What would those be? The man asked. Politicians? Gargaran almost choked on the meat amidst the snorts. Enemy of Kelsir, he said once he could breathe properly. Kelsir has a lot of enemies on the ground and out here. We are a warring species. Enemies is something we make. That isn't reason to be inattentive to what they do. I know they're out there at the edge of within our territory. I just don't know where exactly. And you want me to tell you? Unless you like having them around, having people who fly where they want without respecting your territories, take from you from the other Alan, and he couldn't believe he was about to say this, other honest Alan. Instead of laughing, the male studied him. You don't have a reputation for considering the clans honest. You aren't. You steal, some of you kill senselessly, some even take people and force them into servitude. But you aren't like those. You do what you do out of selfishness. This belief, even the gods' commands, don't apply to you. Live, be happy, the man said, grinning. It's what we do. You interpret it only in a way that supports what you do. That isn't my problem right now, he added as the male opened his muzzle. Those clans who go too far will come to the attention of a hunter, and they will be dealt with. But what you aren't doing is plotting against Kelsir's citizens. And this group of non-pirate pirates are? Gargaran nodded. The old man looked to the quartermaster, who suddenly looked uncomfortable. Interesting. He looked at Gralgiran. How do you hold his loyalty so? Gratitude. If the quartermaster had used that, it was good enough. Gratitude, the old man repeated, as if he evaluated the taste of the word, then shook his head. So, you want me to talk with the clans and non-clans and report to you those who don't act pirate-like? He spoke as if the idea amused him. Yes. The male mulled it over while he ate, finally asking, What's in it for me? The quartermaster's statement of wanting to see Gargaran's face when his uncle asked for his price kept him from saying just name it. What do you have in mind? Out of curiosity, the male said, eating again, What will you do with the information should we come to an arrangement? Hunt them down, as is my duty. Gather the evidence from the ship we capture, and so we can prove who is managing them. You know, I suspect he wouldn't tell the Halan how confident he was of the Earthers being behind this. The male licks his claws. Here's what I want. I want those ships. What? How long have you been in just Billiam's bed? The man laughed. Why do you think it's insane to want more ships? Families grows, after all. If I don't want that to turn into a splintering, I'd better make sure I have ships for my children. I think you're insane to think I'd give you any of those ships. We'll need them to prove who's behind them. Who's giving the orders? You'll need information in them, not the ships themselves. You think they're going to be anything left by the time we're done going through them? The male's smile was knowing. I think, Captain, that you aren't in the habit of putting on the market scrapped. In fact, your history says you pride yourself on selling the spoils from your hunts in as best condition as possible. The smile turned mocking. Could there be Halan greed in you? Gargaran ground his teeth rather than respond to the insult. I'll give you a few of their shuttles. Really? You want to open this alliance with insults? Or is your expectation that my children will pilot the ones I give them, and come demanding proper ships from you? Actual ships, Captain? Let's say 7 of them? Gargaran had trouble speaking at the audacity. Do you have any idea what the leadership's going to do if I agree to this? Am I supposed to care what happens to you after I get what I'm after? To me? The only reason we get to put on the market the spoils of our hunts is that the leadership doesn't see a point to them bothering, or when something interesting comes along, like a bunch of ships, they know they have the finances to outbid other parties, or even some clout to contact the captain directly and get a special arrangement. When they find out they went to the Halan, they are going to rethink if this not bothering is helping or hindering them. Not to say what they would do when they learned he was the one who'd made this agreement. You'd need to hand in the entire Earther government when they came demanding answers for even a hope of keeping a ship. But he couldn't outright refuse this Halan. He was the only way Gralgiran could get the information he needed. One ship he offered, but after the first one. Mel wasn't happy. One. All the shuttle that come with it, along with an extra 42. You're insulting me now. I can't even know that I'll come across that many shuttles on this hunt. You spoke as if there would be many ships when I asked for them. They will all have shuttles. I didn't want you to have any ships. 7 extra shuttles, and that is limited to this hunt only. Which means you could decide those other ships were captured on a different hunt. You're the one proclaiming these stories about me. How much of a liar am I in those? They are stories. I am not a liar, Halan. 28 shuttles. How many ships would be part of this? If the gods were fully in his favor, only one, and the Halan would help him for nothing. Realistically, at least 3. 14. For someone bearing the exact name of 2 gods, you are rather cautious. I'm an alpha, with hunters under his care. I'm a captain with civilian on his ship. Cautiousness is something I consider an asset. But how much of it can defang you? How about 21? So more than he'd like. But between 14 and 21, the numbers wouldn't mean much. Agreed. 1 ship and its shuttle, plus 21 others, but limited to this hunt. We have a deal, the old male smiled. We should celebrate. The quartermaster stood. I think we need to head back to the ship, Uncle. Gralgiran did the same. Whatever celebration the old male had in mind, he wanted nothing to do with it. And that concludes chapter 25 of The Technician's Fight. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.